how I started, finished, published my first and my best-selling book. Tonight we'll be going into the dirty little secrets, the real, the up highs and the downloads of it all. And at first I want to say though, it was not my dream to become an author, right? So I know some people, you maybe are watching this here and you've lived your life and you're just like, you know what I've always wanted to do is write a book. Like that is just something that I've always wanted to do. For me, that was not me. When I was entering my business, you know, going to diving deeper into online marketing, right? And at first, I started my business in person networking, all that things. And then I dived into online marketing world, like, and it was like, okay, how do you build credibility? Well, you know, build credibility, you want to write blogs, right? And so I said, okay, I could write a blog every week, you know, be consistent, write a blog every week. Or I could pack it all into one thing at one time. Now, you may or may not know, in addition to essentially being a strategy consultant, also a keynote speaker, and also a professor, I'm also a best-selling author, for those who did not know, right? So hence, I'm qualified to do this lovely episode. And I remember I actually released my book before the pandemic. And I then, after releasing the book, organized and successfully implemented a campaign selling 500 copies in 5 days. But actually, within the first 24 hours that my book was out and released, it became a bestseller in 3 categories. Specifically, it reached #1 in business project management, it reached #1 in business decision making, and it reached #1 in philosophy. And it stayed in those places for a good couple of days, actually. And so how did I go from having no interest at all in being an author to becoming a best-selling author? And what are all the things in between that I want to impart some wisdom here with you here today for those of you who are looking to become authors? Well, you'll find out in this episode. I want to put a disclaimer. I am not a business coach. I have no intention of opening a publishing company. I am not going to do this episode and at the end say, and if you want help writing a book, come talk to me. I do not help people writing books, okay? I am merely someone who was asked a question by a longtime viewer of my show. And I said, you know what, that's a great question. And it's actually also a question I've gotten a couple of times during the month of April. So it must be the season of aspiring authors to move forward in their dream, because they asked me, Vanessa, how you wrote this book, right? So specifically, one of my faithful viewers who submitted this question, right, she asked, do you have any episodes on how you become or how you became an author? In addition to speaking, I'm thinking about becoming an author also. And so if you resonate with this question, or if you're just curious about my journey and my dirty little secrets of the journey, then tune in and keep on listening to tonight's episode of Entrepreneurship Is a Marathon. And before all of that, though, I know some of you are likely new. So welcome. You're listening to Entrepreneurship Is a Marathon with yours truly, Vanessa Zammy, the business defibrillator. Every Tuesday, I come here live, 9 p.m. Eastern, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And what do I do? Either whether it's me or a guest expert, you are listening into jam-packed tips and tricks. I consult entrepreneurs and micro businesses on how to revive, on how to grow, and how to scale their business without failing for another year, without the burnout, without the sleep deprivation, and without the overwhelm. And as always, in every episode, what's been your win of the week? Okay. Oh, maybe I should be like a whole thing. Oh, actually, that's a jingle. Okay. What has been your win of the week? So actually, my win of the week was actually when a viewer last week, she shared how powerful this section of the show is for her, right? This section where essentially and what powerful it was for her last week. So the section of the show being, what's been your win of the week? She had been listening to the show for months, and it wasn't until recently where it dawned on her, like how and why I do what's the win of your week. And for her, she had been in a hostile situation in her business with her team. And then eventually, you know, she resolved it. She felt really proud of herself. But then she was like, well, I can't share this win with my employees, right? Because they were involved and or they know, or et cetera. But I want to let it out. And so she came and she watched the show, one of the episodes. And I said, as I always do in every episode, what's been your win of the week? Comment below, type it. You know, if you're watching on YouTube, you type it, you scroll to the bottom, hit the subscribe button, keep on scrolling, you type your win of the week. Or if you're watching on Facebook or LinkedIn, you're probably typing to the right of your screen if you're watching the full screen, or you're typing at the bottom as well too, after you put a reaction as well. But this was her space where it was open for her to do so, for her to share her win and for us to celebrate with us, right? As an entrepreneur, as a business owner, it's very easy to get caught up on what's not working, what's essentially wrong with the business or with your life. But chances are that there's something that's probably good, right? It's probably a connection you've made, conversation you had, some sort of maybe a collaboration you did that is actually working beneficial for your business. So what has been your win of the week? And if you're watching this on replay, I want you to put hashtag replay, right? And continue to comment below. If you're listening to this on the podcast, then essentially also send us in your comments, right? Or send us a review. What has been your win of the week? And feel free to, when you write a review, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, you can write reviews. You just say, what's your win of the week? And you write a review. It'd be great. So let's get into it. So we're going to get into how did I start, finish, publish my first and my best-selling book in January 2020, right? So I'm going to do this kind of like as if like someone was interviewing me, right? So first question would be, probably looking back, was this a good decision? So in short, yes. I got what I wanted. I got the best-selling author title. That's what I wanted. Now, if you're looking to make money from your book, this is not a good reason to write a book. For most people, your book is like, it ends up being a badge of honor for yourself. You're like, yeah, I wrote that book. That was me, right? Or you might actually get the best-selling title label, right? And that's it. Now, if you're famous, if you're an influencer, then yes, you will likely make money off your book or in the money that you're probably looking to make. Right now, have I made money from a book? Yes. Has it been tens of thousands of dollars? No. Okay. So if you're the average Jill, no, right? You're either writing this book, trying to get this book going. It's going to be a badge of honor for yourself. And best case scenario, you'll at least be able to get a best-selling title out of it. Be like, I'm a best-selling author. That's like an honor, folks. It's an honor. Let me tell you. Right. So how did it begin for me? So after I mentioned this, I alluded to this in the beginning of the episode here, right? But after I essentially, went through it, I was like, okay, I could write a blog each week. How can I make this process more efficient? Let me write a book, right? So to me, a book was like a big compilation of things. It turned out to be so much more than I initially thought. But then, it's like, Facebook like reads your mind, like Facebook reads your mind. So when I had the thought of like, maybe I'll write a book. The next day, I hopped on the Facebook. I hadn't been on Facebook in like a year. Hopped on the Facebook, like first time on Facebook in like a year. And what did I see? The ad for a book writing program. Okay. So yes. So that's what happened. So I went and joined that program. And my question, how long did it take for you to write the book for that? So that's a great question. So the planning process actually took me 3 months of write the book. So the outlining process, pretty much it was 3 months of outlining that we did. So the outlining took 3 months. And actually I had planned a weekend of writing. So I had my already date set of when I was actually going to write the book. But the planning process to do the book and figure out what I was going to write, the actual content in the book, actually took 3 months. And funny enough, within 5 days, actually it was 3 days prior to when I had set up my weekend of writing, I actually ended up switching up the order of the book and outlining other such things of that nature. So even though I spent 3 months planning, the book that I actually ended up writing was really created 3 days, 3 days before I actually started, writing it. Right. So with that being said, so essentially I then wrote the book and I actually wrote for 36 hours. So the actual writing of the book took me 36 hours. So less than 2 days. Okay. So actual writing of the book took me 36 hours, but there are 5-star reviews on Amazon for this book because it's an awesome book. Okay. Right now, some of you maybe you're that person who you have to write a chapter a week and that's just your style. My style when it comes to writing is just knock it out, get the flow. Once the flow comes, we just flow it out and we just keep moving. Okay. So that's what. So for me, less than 2 days to actually write the book. Then after that, it was editing, right? Because, sometimes the flow is not going to be, it's not as crisp and wonderful, right? So editing took about 4 weeks or so to edit the book. And I read that in my book, I must have read my book 40 times. By the time I was done, I was just like, oh, I'm tired of this book. Oh, go away from me. But ultimately, that's the editing. That's pretty much what the editing process is. You're just like, oh my God. So with that being said, So in total, the whole process was maybe like 5 months or so, right? Until actual launch. And now you might be saying, but Vanessa, it sounds like a really great program. I would not recommend this program though. So just want to, I would not recommend the program that I did. I won't name names. I'm not going to slam businesses. Though if you look in my ebook, in the first few pages, you'll see the name pop up. But honestly, the first phase of the program was great. I finished writing the book. I outlined the book. It was great. It was awesome. Met some wonderful people. The second part, me and other people in my cohort, we agree it was a scam. We felt ripped off. But that was 2 years ago. Or 3 years ago? That was like 2.5 years ago. And they were the business was transitioning. And so they may have improved the second phase. Okay. So I'll say, what I would recommend though, but Vanessa, I still want help for my business. What should I do? Okay. Great question. So fortunately for you, I do know some book coaches. So I am not, again, as I mentioned in the beginning of this episode, I'm not a book coach, right? So I do not intend to be a book coach. I do not have a publishing company. What I do know some reputable, amazing book coaches who mission it is to help people really write that book that they want to write from start to finish, right? And not the, collaborative project. So you might be seeing a lot of things out there that's like, write one chapter in a book, right? So my book is 11 chapters of me writing my book. Okay, so I just want to point that out. I got a best-selling title with my own book. And so it is, I know some book coaches though, who are happy to help people, develop outlines, especially that whole outlining process. I call it the outlining process, all that sort of jazz. I had like this whole, I remember I was doing this when I was living in California. I had this whole huge whiteboard, like bigger than this, like I had this huge whiteboard and had all these post-it notes that I actually took from work because I was writing when I was doing my day job. So I took these post-it notes and I just posted stuff up and was just moving stuff around. Like, okay, this is a good story. I can put that here in this chapter and that is the whole thing. But with that being said, I know some great book coaches who are happy to help you outline stuff. They do it for a living, helping people write their book from start to finish. And so if you're looking for, send me a message on LinkedIn and Facebook, happy to send some email intros to you if you're serious about writing a book. If you're watching on YouTube, feel free to scroll down. We'll try to put some resources in the description. I'll ask my friends and peers, my colleagues, essentially, hey, looking to help you with your business. Let me know if you want me to share your name on YouTube. Okay, so now, do I have authors as clients? I do. So you may have seen me, I posted an image a few months ago where I talked about all my past and current clients that I've helped them revive, grow, and scale their business. And you'll see I have children's book authors. That's one of the things, right? So I do help authors. I do have authors as clients. Some people were authors either prior or after working with me, or in the beginning working with me. But essentially, I do have authors as clients. Yes, but they're not my client because we're working together on a book, right? I'm not helping them write a book. I do not help write books. What I do help them do, though, is I help them develop their marketing strategy to successfully launch their book and to then build up a brand and business strategy and take that to the next level. That's what I help them do, right? I help them develop the brand, develop their marketing strategy for the launch of their book, their first book. Usually it's their first book or a new book, right? But that's what I help them do. I'm not helping them write a book. If you're looking for help writing a book and you're serious about writing a book, I do recommend you get a book coach, right? Someone to help keep you accountable. Either join a program or get a book coach, but essentially getting that support for you, someone to help you actually outline, okay, this is the proper way to think about the outline. If you're writing, and also my book is the category of nonfiction self-help, right? So that is a different outline than someone writing a children's book, which is a different outline from someone writing, a autobiography, whatever it may be. So I would just suggest you get a book coach to hold you accountable. If you might be in a space where you might be able to invest in a ghostwriter. So I do know some people who are ghostwriters. A ghostwriter is someone who will write the book for you. So I do know some people who are ghostwriters. And so actually, I do my second book. I might end up employing a ghostwriter, but we'll talk about that later. But ultimately, I would say, so either you're getting a book coach to hold you accountable to actually write the book from start to end in an efficient way, right? Because there are a lot of people who want to write a book and they've been writing that book for 15 years. You don't want to be that person, okay? You probably don't, especially if you're doing this for your business and your brand, you don't want to be that person, right? So if you're actually serious about writing the book, get a book coach to hold you accountable. Or if you're in a stage of your business, you might be able to have the funds to get a ghostwriter, right? Get a ghostwriter to write the book for you, honestly. So lots of ghostwriters are really great writing autobiographies and memoirs. So happy to connect you with some people there. Or I also know a ghostwriter who helps people with their actually nonfiction books as well too. So there's that. And then though, after you write the book and or during your book writing process while it's being published, etc., then you hire me for a session to help you define a marketing plan. Okay, that's what happens. And that's just one session. So you're just one session. If you're looking for a do-it-yourself, if you're still unsure about writing a book, then actually pretty timely enough, my friend and business colleague is starting a mastermind group for authors, writers, and bloggers. So I asked her if she, share a link with me for that, because it was just very timely. I was like, oh, I'm doing an episode on this. So if she doesn't send me a link, then you know how to reach me, Facebook or LinkedIn. Send me a message on Facebook or LinkedIn, and I'm happy to make an intro, introduce you to that mastermind group of authors, writers, and bloggers. Okay, so lots of resources available to you. So, and I'm about to go into the last part, which is what would I do differently about my process. Before I go to that, let me recap. Okay, so it took me 3 months to plan the book, less than 2 days to actually write the book. Okay, I do not help people write books. I help them develop the marketing strategies for the book. There are people who are out there who can help you write your book, either writing it for you as a ghostwriter, or they're a book coach to help guide you and hold you accountable along with the process. Okay, and something I do want to add is that remember one of the authors I work with, she was like, okay, I've always wanted to write a book, right? And so she worked with a publishing company. She actually worked with a publishing company, who was willing to publish a book for her, etc. And she wrote the book, and it was like, great, all right. And then the company said, all right, so what are you gonna do for marketing? And she said, marketing? What do you mean marketing? She'd never done a business before, etc. She was in a corporate day job, working in higher education. She's like, marketing? What? And the publishing company pretty much informed her, yeah, we're going to publish the book, but how are you going to sell it, right? How are you going to get people to buy it? And so that's when she was like, oh, okay, maybe I'll get an assistant to do that, right? So then she worked with an assistant company, and the company was like, okay, talk to Vanessa. Essentially get a marketing strategy in place, right? So that way, because let's say you might decide, okay, I'm going to get an assistant to do the marketing for me. That assistant needs a strategy, right? Don't just have someone willy-nilly. If you're intentional and serious about actually making your book a bestseller, or about actually, helping you, getting it to help you with your brand, then be intentional and strategic about your marketing, okay? And your marketing, your sales, and your outreach. And so, best-selling titles don't happen by accident. It's all strategy, it's all intentional. So set yourself up for success for that. Now, what would I do different? Or actually, and I think the way I'm gonna answer that question, what would I do differently, is what I want to say, what I do. That's really what I do. I'll think of it more so what I'm going to do for my next book. I'll say it that way. What I'm doing for the next book. So my first book is actually, so I actually put a link here on the screen. So it's available on Amazon for those who may be wondering, in case you find out. There. If you want to get my book, it's called Finish, The Solopreneur's Guide to Getting Stuff Done. So it navigates, essentially the book is a 6-step process to help people who have trouble finishing things, helping them get from start to finish on their projects, on their businesses, etc., and getting them to really move the needle in their life and in their goals through my 6-step process. So called Finish. So the book is called Finish, The Solopreneur's Guide to Getting Stuff Done. It's available on Amazon as an ebook. So you're welcome to check that out. With that being said, my next book. So this is the nonfiction self-help book. I released it in January 2020. My next book that I write will likely be on, essentially it'll be more nonfiction, like business growth book, right? It'll come from all the dozens of examples I've had. I'm pretty much, when I do my master classes that I do, so I have a master class every Tuesday. I actually just did one essentially before the show. So I host a master class on Tuesdays, and it's not every Tuesday, but essentially most Tuesdays. I just did one before the show, and it's called essentially the Ultimate Business Survival System. And I teach people how to grow their purpose-driven business without burnout. And I go through my 13-step framework. I'll probably write a book on that framework at some point in time. Now, how am I gonna write that book? Will I actually, when I think about it, will I be the one to sit down and write the book? Doesn't really interest me at the moment. I likely will probably hire a ghostwriter. Alternatively speaking as well too, for those who are looking to write some nonfiction books, let's say you already have expertise, you already have content out there. Pro tip, there are lots of audio transcription stuff. So something else I'll probably consider for the book too is transcribing some things and episodes and having a writer, a ghostwriter, piece it together probably. I'm just going to reveal strategies here to you because why not? Being honest here, being transparent. And that's probably what's going to happen, right? When is that going to happen? I don't know. Maybe a year from now, maybe 3 years from now. I don't really know. Again, I'm a consultant, strategy consultant first, keynote speaker second. I love speaking and teaching, so really technically I'm always speaking and teaching, even as a consultant. So, and then third, I'm a professor, and fourth, I'm a best-selling author. So that is the way I think about the priorities of my titles here. So when am I going to author another book? I don't know. But chances are, perhaps you know when you want to author your next book. So hopefully this episode was helpful for you as I shared my wisdom and experience, and really ensuring that you get the help that you need to get you to achieve the dream of you writing that book, or adding it as a revenue stream or income stream to your business. You know, however you want to think about it. Maybe it's your dream, maybe it's a memoir, whatever it may be. But there are definitely a lot of resources out there to help you write a book. And so the only thing stopping you from writing the book is you. Okay? So that's the key idea here. If you don't know nothing, if you get nothing else from this here, the only thing stopping you from writing your book is you. Okay? There are resources out there. So, you know, if you're like, Vanessa, I still don't know the resources, just message me. Again, send me a message on Facebook and LinkedIn. I'm pretty responsive. So, or my team is responsive. Right. So just send me a message on Facebook and LinkedIn. Be like, hey, Vanessa, I'm running a book. What resources do you have? Happy to share resources. Maybe at some point, maybe I'll add a section on my website or something for this, because I'm getting this question a lot. So yeah, this wasn't the original episode for tonight. Was going to be a guest speaker to talk about actually a completely different topic, but they had a last minute change. Reschedule. So I just decided to answer. I was like, you know what? My viewer asked me this question. I was going to answer it in like, a couple of weeks when we stop having guest speakers come. But a timely thing to do now. So I figured, hey, everything happens for a reason. Everything works in our favor, right? So this was the story of how I started, finished, and published my first and also my 3-category best-selling book in January 2020. With that being said, have a lovely evening and abundant rest of the week. And I look forward to chatting with you again next week on Entrepreneurship is a Marathon. My name is Vanessa Zammy, and I'm the business defibrillator. Chat with you soon.